What's going on? Hello, hello, hello. We're back. Another installment of the pagan world, ancient religions. Professor Hahn will be our instructor, our guide on this journey. And this audiobook is produced by Great Courses. You can find Great Courses books, titles aplenty on Amazon or wherever you get your audiobooks. That being said, we left off about to enter ancient Egypt. Man, I love me some ancient Egypt. It is quite a read, indeed, and it's pretty lengthy, but it's well worth it, in my opinion. If you have the opportunity to check it out for yourself, you can buy the audiobook online, or you can go back through some of my earlier works where I break down and comment on ancient Egypt. I even learned some things I didn't know before. Very interesting. But for now, we're going to stick with Professor Hahn in the pagan world as he takes us back into ancient Egypt.
Worship of all the old gods was revived. Akhenaten's obsession. We will take up monotheism again later in the course, but unfortunately not Akhenaten. Let us note here, however, that this early attempt at monotheism in the 1330s BCE failed another 1,600 years. Internal weakness in Egypt led in 1075 BCE first to Libyan and subsequently to Kushite or Ethiopian domination. This lasted for some 400 years until 671 BCE, when the Assyrians under Ashurbanipal conquered Egypt. There is one last period of native Egyptian rule from 664 until 525, when the Persians conquer Egypt. The Persians rule Egypt almost 2 centuries until 332 BCE, when Alexander the Great reaches Alexandria. After Alexander's death, Macedonian Greek kings rule Egypt, beginning with Ptolemy I, and the Ptolemaic dynasty rules Egypt until Caesar Augustus arrives to deal with his great uncle Julius Caesar's former lover, Cleopatra, last of the Ptolemies. Direct Roman rule begins with the suicide of Cleopatra in 30 BCE and lasts until the triumph of the Arabs in 642 CE. I hope my review, brief as it was tedious enough to underscore that the history of Egypt is long, inconceivably long. Some of you have likely taken a course in Egyptian history.
Yes.
You are to be commended. All of us should. Let us turn to administration. The central figure of the pharaoh was not just a king, but also, and more importantly, a god among gods, the living son of the sun god Re. He was called the good god and wore insignia signifying his divinity. He lived in constant communion with fellow gods, performing in person daily rituals in temples, conversing with his fellow gods in dreams, and interpreting their messages for human subjects. The pharaoh provided the essential link between gods and humans. His welfare was thus essential to the welfare of his people, and his person was sacrosanct. This is a concept that will inspire imitation among Greeks and Romans. The earliest religion of the Egyptians seems to have originated in worship of spirits of nature embodied in sacred animals. Good spirits were embodied in useful animals like the cow or ram. Menacing spirits were embodied in animals like the crocodile or cobra. This aspect of Egyptian religion, the worship of gods in the form of animals or ethereolatry, served as a major point of contrast between the religion of the Egyptians and others around the Mediterranean. Later, when the Ptolemies sought to unite Greek and Egyptian worship, they fastened on Osiris in order to appeal to Greeks, as Osiris appears in human form, and Apis, who appears as a bull, in order to appeal to Egyptians. They united the two as Osiris Apis, or as this syncretic god was later known, Serapis. But let us retreat from Ptolemaic Egypt and return to the beginning to meet some Egyptian divinities before they were subjected to the whims of foreign invaders. Our first text is a pyramid text and dates from around 2300 BCE. It was not designed to tell a story or even explain creation, but to proclaim, declare, and thus establish the immortality of the pyramid on which it was inscribed, as well as of the pharaoh who would eventually dwell within it. This partly explains what strikes us as its obscure manner of expression. It was not composed with the needs of an audience in mind, but rather simply to accomplish its purpose. It is more like a spell. Other portions of the text were used to promote the immortality of individuals, a topic that we will take up again in a subsequent lecture. Let's listen to the first stanza. O Atum Kheprer, thou who wast on high on the primeval hill, thou didst arise as the ben-bird in the house of Heliopolis. Thou didst spit out what was Shu, thou didst sputter out what was Tefnut. Thou didst put thy arms about them as the arms of a Ka, for thy Ka was in them. That probably did not make much sense.
No.
Let me read it again, but with some paraphrasing.
Okay.
O morning sun god, who art represented as a scarab beetle, thou who wast on high on the primeval hill, thou didst arise as the phoenix in the city of Heliopolis. Thou didst spit out what was air, thou didst sputter out what was moisture. Thou didst put thy arms about them as the arms of a divine spirit, for thy divine spirit was in them. The hymn addresses the creator god Atum, who is self-created and rises like a bird from primordial chaos. Atum is thus able to spit out the god Shu, or air, and Tefnut, or moisture, because of his Ka, or spiritual strength. A subsequent verse invokes the 9 great gods, or Ennead, of Heliopolis. O great Ennead, which is in Heliopolis, Atum, Shu, Tefnut, Geb, Nut, Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys, whom Atum begot, spreading wide his heart in joy at his begetting you in your name of the 9 bows. May there be none of you who will separate himself from Atum, as he protects this king, as he protects this construction work, from all gods and from all dead, and as he guards lest anything happen to him evilly throughout the course of eternity.
Mm.
The point is to protect that pharaoh and the pyramid. We learn only inadvertently that Atum created himself, as well as these 9 great gods, whose names are Atum, the creator god, Shu, the god of air, Tefnut, the goddess of moisture, Geb, the god of earth, Nut, the goddess of sky, Osiris, lord of the dead, Isis, the great mother goddess and consort of Osiris, Nephthys, sister of Osiris and Isis, another god of the dead, and wife of Seth, brother of Osiris and of Isis, and god of chaos and war.
Mm.
But the point of this hymn was, again, not to teach readers about the Ennead, but to invoke the powers of the 9 great gods in order to make sure that a pyramid and its occupant enjoyed a permanent creation of their own. Fortunately, this is not the only text that describes the creation of the world by Atum.
Okay. So yeah, there was a squad of 9 gods. And somehow that kind of trickled down to a few main gods. I know Osiris was one of them. Horus was another one. And there were some female gods as well. But we'll get back to that. Try to keep these things short. But Egypt is just one of those. Kemet, as it was called, that is the actual name of the land that we call Egypt. So, how do you like it so far? A little too slow for you? Too fast? Things you don't understand? Let's talk about it in the comments. See if we can't help each other out. Okay? All right, then. I will talk to you guys later.